Welcome back to the Mediocre Garden. I'm Nick, and as usual, I am not here to give you gardening advice. I'm just here to show you what I've been doing in my garden in the most mediocre way. It's been a little while since I've actually checked in with you on what's actually growing in my indoor garden. So if you didn't see my video on setting up my indoor garden, then take a look at that first. I had just started it, I planted a few seeds, and those seeds now are here. So I want to update you on what I've got going in my indoor garden. So one of the goals that I have for starting this project is not just to expand my outdoor garden, but to allow myself to start producing certain things inside. I want to have a very robust herb garden inside all year round, and also then I would like to be able to grow greens and experiment with what else I can actually grow inside using just a few lights and my grow room. So part of what I did when I got started was just to trial out what is going to work best for me. And last year I had saved some seeds, namely some beans and some peas that went to seed in the garden, and I saved them. And so I decided to see if they would germinate, and they seemed easy enough and not a big deal. If they germinated, great, I would just put them in the compost. And then I found I couldn't because I'm the mediocre gardener and I do not have an easy time throwing plants out. Yeah, I'm not good at that. I want to save every little plant. I planted 2 little bean seeds, and these are my 2 little bean seeds. Now, the great thing is I transplanted it up twice, and it's finally in this size. I don't know what this is. This is about 6 inches or so. And if you look closely, I have beans. So it flowered about a week and a half ago, and now all the flowers are gone, and there's various sizes of beans, but these are my largest beans so far, this one here. The fact that I might be able to actually get beans off these silly little bean plants is making me tremendously happy. Much happier than beans ever should make anyone, maybe. But I'm excited to see how far this goes. All I've done is added a little bit of worm castings is fertilizer for it now that it started producing beans. And of course I'm not going to transplant it because it seems to like this size container. And I don't know, I counted up, I think I'll probably end up with about 20 or so beans off these 2 plants. I love this, that I can grow beans inside if I wanted. I will enjoy these beans, and I usually don't. These are my 2 little peas. I don't even know if I can get it all in there. There, you can see how tall they are. These are the 2 little peas that I planted. Now, I put in a bamboo stick. It's growing really well. Again, this is probably about 5 or 6 inches deep. Seems to be pretty happy. I train it around this bamboo stick so you can see it's doing what peas do. No flowers off of it yet, but I'm hopeful we might get there. So stay tuned. If I can get peas inside, oh, I would be so happy because I love peas. Now, one of the other things I've wanted to do is have a very robust indoor herb garden because we cook a lot and I use fresh herbs a lot. If I can go into the grow room and grab them instead of purchasing them, I'll be much happier. These came from my garden. So this is just a spearmint and easy to grow, of course, too easy sometimes because they can take over any space. And I brought this in from outside. I'll insert a few pictures of where it was most of the winter. A sad little stick. I brought them here into the grow room with some more light and they were much happier. But then I realized I really felt like they needed a transplant and better soil. Now, originally I had planted them in Miracle Grow soil and it was all I could find at the time. And I wasn't making my own potting mix then. I retransplanted with my own potting mix, which I do 4 parts peat moss, 2 part worm casings, 1 part perlite, and 1 part vermiculite. That's my potting mix. Not my seed starting mix, but my potting mix. And it flourished. So you can see I've already cut it, done some cuttings off of it a few times. And yeah, it smells great. I don't usually like mint in flavoring in anything, but I love fresh mint when I make a little muddle of it with some ginger and lime, and then I pour it into a lovely glass of ginger ale. That's one of my favorites. And this oregano too, I'll insert where this little guy came from. Pulled him out of the garden too, back in October, and he didn't really do very well at all in the winter. The lights helped him, but again, the transplant really helped him. Now I know he needs some pruning. I just pruned him up some. He's definitely starting to get bushier, which is great. It's hard for me to prune. Just like it's hard for me to thin the seedlings. It's hard for me to prune if I'm not going to use it. So I've been saving every little oregano leaf in a little jar so I can have a nice, fresh, dried oregano. Let's take a look now at some of the herbs that I started from seed. I have 4 pots of dill. Dill's easy to grow. This, however, is taking a little while before I can get really nicely smelling dill. My other herbs are smelling great, but the dill is not yet. I'm letting it grow a little bit longer before I start trimming it. And I found I had to transplant them into quite deep pots. I've got a few different kinds and some of these smaller ones. I really like dill, and so I wanted to have a lot. And these were dill seeds that I collected from my own dill in the garden. So they've done really well. And dill, of course, is something I'm going to have to keep planting if I want to have fresh dill. I probably have to start some more soon. I just don't know where I'm going to put them all. These are the chives from my own seeds from the garden as well that I saved. Chives, onions, anything like that grows really slow, but these are finally starting to take off. These ones are doing pretty well. They're just simple chives. I really like chive flowers and adding them into salads and such. So we'll see how they do if I can get them to flower in here. I don't know that I'll be able to. I'll probably trim them before they can for a few times. And I'll get lots of flowers out in the garden soon enough, I'm sure. But again, would really like the opportunity to be able just to come and trim some chives for myself. So fingers crossed they get a little bit bigger before I do that. This is the ever controversial cilantro. Now, I am one of the genetically superior people who doesn't think cilantro tastes like soap. I love cilantro. Fresh cilantro in pico or in guac. Yeah, I love it. So again, this is not fragrant yet, and so I'm going to let it get a fair bit bigger, and I will have to continue to plant cilantro if I'm going to have it regularly indoors. But again, probably won't do too much since our outside gardening season is just about on us, and then I'll be overrun. Then these pretty little basils, and these, they smell fantastic. Basil, I hate growing outside, so I think I'll be growing a lot of basil indoors. I'm hoping these will get to be nice, bushy plants, pinch leaves off of regularly. But they already smell good. And this as well. Something I've really grown to love over the last year is sage. So this sage, again, smells really good. And there's lots of little leaves going off of here, so that's awesome. I only got the one. I didn't plant a lot of them from seeds just to try it out. So I'll be planting some more so I can get some more sage plants. I've been using my pumpkins and doing a pumpkin sage pasta. Yeah, it's just one I never used to use except for when I dressed a chicken. And now I'm using it a lot more. So really glad to be having one of these in my herb garden inside. One of the things that I really wanted to do is to be able to grow my own greens in an indoor garden. So I've been trialing it out. These are lettuce, and this is perpetual spinach. So the lettuce I planted January 26th from seed and replanted into this deeper pot February 9th. So these are pressed cardboard and they've been doing really well, but I noticed it's starting to break down quite a bit. So I'm looking for a more permanent container that I can use for when I grow lettuce, and then I'd like to transplant these. This mixed leaf lettuce I've already cut once. I cut it about a week ago. I had a tiny little salad with a really great dressing, and I'll insert my tiny little salad video here. But it was very tender, not at all bitter. I'm really happy with the quality of these. Now, these particular plants I should be able to keep going for a while, but I would need to plant more regularly if I'm going to have salad greens available to us often, and I would have to plant significantly more because I got a lovely tiny little salad, but I certainly couldn't feed 2 people or 3 people with that. This is a really good project. Again, might not do too much indoors right now, but it's good to know that I can start it through the winter. So I'm kind of excited about how that's gone. And then these are perpetual spinach, and I did a little bit of investigating about what perpetual spinach really was. I thought, oh, is this some kind of genetic mutant? But it's not. Perpetual spinach is actually a Swiss char. I don't know if it's a Swiss char. It's a char, anyway, that tastes like spinach and does not go to seed, doesn't bolt in the heat of the summer. So I thought it would be a really good one to try growing indoors so that I could do cuttings off of it and just let it continually grow. So put it in a very similar container, this pressed cardboard. It's doing quite well, but again, I need some kind of more permanent container if I'm going to continually grow it. Has not had a chance to be trimmed yet. However, it seems to be growing a lot faster than the lettuce did. Now, the lettuce I planted January 26th, and this perpetual spinach I planted February 20th. And though I haven't got a cutting off of it, I feel like it's going to be a few more, maybe a week or so, and I probably can. Again, it's not a lot in this little container because I was just trialing it, so it will be a tiny little salad again for me. But this is a good trial. In these containers, I've got thyme, and some of this thyme will end up going out into the garden, but also hopefully I'll have a couple plants to stay here on my indoor herb garden. I left for a couple days and just got back today, and it was really small when I left, and it suddenly has just grown a lot. So it's gotten a little bit spindly. I'm probably going to transplant them into similar size containers, but only 2 or 3 per container. So that I have to do this week. And then in here are 3 little catnip plants. I've got the catnip specifically only to torment my cats because they torment me every day, and for me to have fresh catnip for them, yeah, that's going to feel really good. And then in here I just have 4 little tomato plants. These are a Tumbler Tomato, and these are intended to be my inside tomatoes. I think this is a type of tomato that will work well indoors. We'll see how it goes. I don't probably need 4 of them indoors, so some of these might end up outside. But yes, that's the hope, is to add tomatoes to my indoor garden as well. Well, the sun is setting on my mediocre garden today. I have a lot of work still to do before I can actually come out here and dig in the soil, but it's getting closer. I'll do updates as we get moving and as we get planting out here in the garden. I'm excited. I hope you are too. I hope somewhere in the world, wherever you are, you're soon digging in the soil as well. Thanks everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this if you want other people to see my adventure and come along with us. And yeah, happy gardening.